Welcome to the Newsa-Cast YouTube channel. These Red Smith Banquet throwbacks are exclusive interviews of sports legends, powerful media personalities, and influential coaches. You won't find these anywhere else. Subscribe below and enjoy.
Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners, welcome to our throwback. This throwback is going back to 2005, where we had the architect of those legendary Packer teams, Ron Wolf. This is the full interview. Obviously, you're here on the YouTube channel, but this goes back to our podcast where we had the pleasure of interviewing Nick Sam and talking about the coaching perspective of football safety. So please go back and check out our podcast to get the full football experience.
Please welcome Mr. Lee Remmel.
"60 years and I'm still standing," right? Thank you, Chuck. I previously had the privilege of honoring Ronald Martin Wolf. You didn't know I knew your middle name, did you? Ronald Martin Wolf at a public event since his retirement as the Packers Executive Vice President and General Manager 4 years ago. And I must admit I was highly amused by the major change in lifestyle he revealed in his response on that occasion. At the time, Ron had been in retirement for only a year, but he said he already had made at least one significant discovery in what had become his substantially increased involvement in domesticity. He said he had learned through regular and practical push and pull experience that the ORAC is the best vacuum cleaner. With three additional years of retirement living in scenic Annapolis, Maryland, behind him, enhanced by a non-football trip to France with wife Edie, I assume Ron will have a further update on his domestic research when he gives his response a little later. Perhaps a typically succinct Wolf-type report on the advantages and disadvantages of the Dirt Devil. Whatever the case, Ron, as a career workaholic, clearly has shocked his friends and former colleagues by how readily he has taken to retirement. Approximately a year after leaving the Packers in football, he asserted in a newspaper interview, "I'm perfectly content with what I'm doing right now, which is nothing." In the interim, what is intriguing about Ron's retirement is that despite his withdrawal from the NFL stage, the Ron Wolf legend continues to grow. Simply put, they won't let him stay retired. With flattering regularity, there are nationwide rumors that he is being courted by the Atlanta Falcons or the Cleveland Browns or some other team to resuscitate one franchise or another. And just recently, Pro Football Weekly, the Bible of pro football, published the results of a survey of pro football experts, on one which disclosed that Ron is considered one of the two most able team builders and personnel gurus extant with respect to revitalizing a franchise. A singular tribute, certainly, to his singular talents. But tonight, we have a more specific purpose here: to pause and formally salute Ron Wolf for doing what they said could not be done, returning the Packers to Super Bowl heights and long-term success. Following his 1991 arrival in Green Bay, he asserted with characteristic brevity and candor, "I was brought here to win," and then proceeded to launch the remarkable renaissance of the last decade, plus a veritable eternity of winning in the world of professional sports, one which has seen the Packers win 128 games, 6 division titles, 2 conference championships, and a Super Bowl over the past 14 seasons. To put those considerable achievements in historical perspective, we all know the Packers owe their existence to Earl Louis Lambeau, who founded the team in 1919 at the exceedingly tender age of 21. We also well know the Packers owe their legendary success in the 60s to Vincent Thomas Lombardi. Having said that, the Packers clearly owe the recent and memorable turnaround of the 90s, 7 straight winning seasons, and 6 consecutive playoff berths in great measure to Ron Wolf and his sweeping restoration of the green and gold. And even in his retirement, the Packers and their legions of loyalists continue to be indebted to Ron for showing the way. With all due respect to Mike Sherman, who has put his own substantial imprint upon the franchise, the continuum of success at 1265 Lombardi Avenue, represented by a league-high 11 winning seasons and 10 playoff appearances in the last 12 years, remains retraceable in part to Ron Wolf and the turnabout he launched in 1991. And that, in brief, is why we honor him here tonight. but there's considerably more to the Ron Wolf story from the personal perspective. Ron, for example, long has had three consuming interests, personally and professionally. One, as we all are well aware, is football, a related pursuit and discovery of the great and near-great players who make the game what it is, and the intricate and challenging process of building a winner. A second, lesser known, is his passion for baseball, acquired as a boy in Pennsylvania, New Freedom, Pennsylvania, which he says doesn't have a stoplight, when he became an ardent fan of the neighboring Baltimore Orioles. A third is his penchant for collecting rare football and baseball cards. Who else, by the way, has a Bob Chappius football card, 1947 vintage? Ron's other compelling interest might surprise you. It is his lifelong curiosity about the lives of great military leaders. On this subject, Ron has said of himself, quote, "I like to read novels, and when I really get serious, I like to delve into the Civil War or World War II." He thus long has had a highly developed interest in the lives of legendary military leaders such as George S. Patton, the ill-fated George Custer, remember Little Bighorn, and Douglas MacArthur. It is interest that has prompted him to observe, quote, "What fascinates me, and I can't pin the answer down, is where do all these people come from? The great people that emerge in time of crisis, where have they been? Why do they suddenly appear on the scene at the precise moment of history?" Being a man of becoming modesty, the thought probably has never occurred to him, but it is poetic that in the realm of professional football, Ron himself has become one of them, a celebrated leader. Without question, he surfaced at the precise time in Packers history that his leadership and football expertise were in greatest need. And when Ron answered Bob Harlan's call in 1991 to resuscitate the Packers football fortunes, there clearly was need. In fact, arriving in Green Bay on November 27, 1991, a historic day in our history, I can tell you that, he found himself taking on one of the NFL's most imposing challenges, to make a winner out of a team that had had only 4 winning seasons in the previous quarter century. He immediately set about changing the mindset of the team and the organization. 3 decades earlier, Vince Lombardi had arrived in Green Bay and said his first task would be, quote, "to defeat the defeatism that I know is here." Ron, in turn, quickly found and delineated a different aspect of the losing syndrome after watching practice for the first time late in that 91 season. "We've got a problem on the practice field," he said. "The team is 4-10 and it's walking around like it's 10-4. There's a country club atmosphere here." A man of action, he promptly set about putting things right. As Bob Harlan was to later observe, quote, "In a matter of 3 or 4 days, Ron had totally grasped the problems. There never was any doubt in my mind that he was the right guy." What Ron did to solve those problems has been well documented, but it was so dramatically effective it bears repeating. Decisive and determined, he brought in Mike Holmgren, a rising star among NFL coordinators from San Francisco, to coach the team in January 1992. Then just a month later, he brought in Brett Favre from Atlanta in return for a first-round draft choice. At that price, perhaps the most remarkable bargain in professional football history. And then came the coup de grace 1 year later, the successful pursuit of Reggie White, the NFL's most sought-after free agent, a $17 million masterstroke that resounded around the pro football world. Resounded because once free agency became a fact of NFL life, it was thought the Packers would be the first team to have problems. But Ron, daring to think big, went after Atlanta, the biggest and best of the free agents, then continued to build a championship team that swept on to 2 Super Bowls. Ron later followed that blockbuster by acquiring running back Amon Green, who already has rewritten the Packers record book in rushing. Ron could well be canonized for those 4 moves alone, and he isn't even Catholic. Maybe someday he will be. In this gratifying and transforming process, Ron not only changed the organization's mindset, he also changed the way the team was perceived throughout the pro football world, another contribution of enormous value. Green Bay no longer would be referred to as the Siberia of the NFL. Far from it. The Packers, in fact, soon came to be the standard against which all of their rivals were judged. And when Ron retired, June 1st, 2001, he left the green and gold in good hands with a bright future. He made sure of it in 2000 by naming Mike Sherman the 13th head coach in Packers history. And as we have seen, all Mike Sherman has done over his first 5 years is win more games in his first 5 seasons than any other head coach in Packers history. All of which brings me back to the bottom line. 14 years ago, we called upon Ron Wolf to build us a winner, and he did, beyond our fondest dreams. Now, with deep appreciation for his multiple contributions to the Packers and their continuing prominence on the pro football scene. It is a rare privilege and a great personal pleasure to present the 2005 Red Smith Award to Ron Wolf. Congratulations, Ron, and thanks for the memory.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There isn't really anybody that good, but you're about to convince me, Lee. Before I begin, I would like to introduce to you the person that made this award possible, my wife, Edie. It was her devotion to duty that enabled me to achieve whatever success I've had in professional football. I certainly would like to thank Mike Reese and the committee for this honor. It is a privilege for me to be able to accept it. And I do so on behalf of all the people who were with the Packers when I was there. It's as much theirs as it is mine, and I thank you for that. Also, I would like to congratulate the Green Bay Packers on their selection of Ted Thompson as general manager. He will add even more stability to the best-run front office in the NFL. Additionally, I would like to thank the fans of the Packers. I shall always remember and cherish the support you gave me and to the Packers, and will never forget your presence and undying loyalty whenever and wherever we played. There are three things of which I am extremely proud, and Lee touched on all of them, but you're going to hear them again. Number one, I was told not to go to Green Bay because it was a can't-win situation up there. And I was a bit amused at that because no one really knew who in the heck I was anyway. But, well, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea, that's for you older people in there. I have a news flash for you. The Packers are the winningest team in the NFL for the last 12 years. Number two, think about that. That is utterly remarkable that this town here that was going to fall apart when we had free agency was never going to be able to compete in the National Football League. Since free agency began 12 years ago, the team with the winningest record in the National Football League is your Green Bay Packers. Secondly, the team with the longest string of non-losing seasons is also, you got it, the Green Bay Packers. 13 years. As you know, the Packers are run by an executive committee. Bob Harlan is the CEO. During my second meeting with the committee, the gray ghost, Tony Ganadeo, God rest his soul, said, "We don't expect much up here. Just beat them bars." Well, Tony, guess what? We got it started, and now it's 11 straight years and wins in Soldiers Field, the den of those dang Bears. The best thing that ever happened to me professionally was when I became a member of the Green Bay Packers. I shall always be grateful to Bob Harlan for the opportunity he presented to me. What a marvelous heritage to be able to be associated with. You young people that we just honored up here, and all you young people in this wonderful state, have enormous legacy to preserve, protect, and uphold. You must keep that eternal flame glowing in the citadel of professional football, Green Bay, Wisconsin, forever and ever and ever. People have asked me what, thank you. People have asked me what I do with myself now that I'm out of football. I tell them what I want to do when I want to do it. That ain't all bad. General MacArthur tells us youth is not a time of life, it's a state of mind. It's a test of will, a quality of imagination. Nobody grows old by merely living a number of years. People grow old only by deserting their ideals. And in closing, I would like to share with you a quote from William Penn. I expect to pass through life but once. If therefore there is any kindness I can show or good deed I can do for any fellow being, let me do it now and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again. Thank you. God bless you. May God bless America, and may you all reach that unreachable star. Good night.
Please subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when we post another great episode or interview. Download the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for your support.